the house always wins. You cannot change the music industry. It will always be that. You could work outside of it. You could build your own business out of this thing. But if you try to work within this industry, you're going to have to go where the river flows. It goes one way. There's no other way that it's going to go.
I'ma get $1 million in the bank.
What up, y'all? It's Toure, and it's Rap Latte.
And I am King Green, and we are here with my guy, Curtis King. Two kings in the building right now. Thank you for joining the show to have this conversation.
Man, thank you for the invite. It's an honor.
So I'm talking
Curtis,
about.
what is really going on with this lawsuit? You understand this a little deeper than the average bear, I think. What is the real core of this conversation?
From all the reaction videos that I've done, and obviously I have no lawyer experience. From what I see, it feels like grabbing for straws on Drake's part. It feels like this is embarrassment being played out on one of the largest stages you could think of. Shout out to my guy Justin Hunt. He was saying that I was watching a video earlier. He was like, "This has got to be one of the most selfish moves you've ever seen in a back and forth in terms of a beef." And I think everybody's trying to make this this is about Drake and UMG. But when you think about him, starting off or jump starting these lawsuits to be in the name of UMG allegedly kind of tipping the scale in favor of Kendrick, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of artists in this industry who probably feel the same way about Drake in some of the treatment.
That part.
Specifically, one point, specifically in 2018, and this is something I documented in a video in which you still can go to a post from Spotify, who's another person, a lot of folks are forgetting that's a part of the lawsuit to be.
Yep.
There's an entire thread. There's an entire thread of subscribers saying, "Yo, why is Drake on my alternative AC/DC playlist? Why is he all over my band? I'm looking for ads."
Oh, wait. Now, wait. Just can you address the other side, which I refer to as the conspiracy theory side? But a lot of people have this notion of this: Drake is righteously responding to UMG's attempt to collude and devalue him, so that in the future they'll be able to pay him less when they renegotiate. What do you make of that argument?
I think if we're talking about just business, this is probably a move that he feels like is the best move that he has left for a brand that has been permanently tarnished. I don't believe that he wouldn't have had a comeback story. I just wonder how much of him wants to actually do the work that it's going to require to rebuild. If we recall, before this battle even started, because I'm always keeping up to date with the news and whatnot is going on, he was complaining about being burnt out, about possibly having health issues and things that he wanted to, get away from, the industry being one of those. And so when I look at all of this, I'm seeing this as a play, because he knows whatever evaluation that he might have had beforehand with UMG in terms of, the re-signing of the deal, their leverage, they ultimately hold all the leverage. So I feel like instead of I compare it to that meme by Denzel Washington when he was like, "I'm leaving here with something."
Yeah.
I feel like as I'm looking at Drake, he knows there's no. My theory is he's going to see no peace if he has some kind of route to become independent. There is no peace, because you don't get to embarrass the very infrastructure that you came under, and then go set up shop and compete with them. Like, that's just not going to happen. Nobody leaves this game unscathed. And I think that the writing on the wall, and when I'm looking at all of this stuff, it just feels very reactionary. And the timing is what I think most folks have an issue with, because it's like, if this is an issue today, this has been an issue for years. Why now?
Yeah, and I think the why now comes into play, where it's like he was trying to renegotiate this deal or get out, maybe recoup or renegotiate. We don't know, right? But we know deals. You either trying to hit recoupment, like, look, this is what I did, and then they were like, nah, you didn't recoup, right? Or they came at it like, or he was like, let's renegotiate this whole situation because my value's crazy. I dropped like 7 albums. Look at what I'm doing out here in the streets. I did this tour because they 360 him, right? So the tours they making money off of everything, right? So he has to do this. So I feel like this was like the recoupment thing seems more like the play because it's like if I came to you and say I finished my job and you Kobe me and go, job's not finished, job's not done. You know what I'm saying? What can I do? It sounds like someone who's got pushed against the wall talks to his lawyers, and his lawyers are like, well, we could use this whole battle that you had as a way to say that they defamed you to get you out of this contract because that is a breach of contract because it needs to be in your best interest. Everything that they do needs to be in your best interest because you're the golden child. So they put up this whole front off of Not Like Us and try to get him out of the contract so he could do deals where he wants. I think that's the actual goal, and the defamation is to strengthen the whole point from the first petition of saying like you did this and it's going to attack me. So that's what it seems like, and you want to get out of there. But like you said, and we were talking about before we started recording, as far as like the music industry was created by gangsters, casino business created by gangsters. The house always wins. You cannot change the music industry. It will always be that. You could work outside of it. You could build your own business out of this thing. But if you try to work within this industry, you're going to have to go where the river flows. It goes one way. There's no other way that it's going to go. And you ain't breaking stream.
Which is why I didn't understand. Right. And real quick, which is why I didn't understand his decision to jump in a battle of this magnitude. Right. Only arrogance could drive you.
Ego.
You would come out of this versus a guy like a Kendrick Lamar, who I think is one of the most impressive in this space. Only ego would make you believe that you have pop culture on your side, you have fame on your side, maybe to a certain degree, UMG on your side. Only ego can make you believe that you could do this and not put the let's say the thousands of people that are employed underneath this imprint. This is a risk that comes with battling, especially in this stage or this era. And I feel like he like my grandma used to say, I think you bit off more than you could chew. And it just feels like grabbing for straws at this point. And you have nobody to blame but yourself for jumping into this.
But let's talk about the part which Drake is correct, right? That payola, he's saying payola was used to help Not Like Us rise. Without a doubt. There's no question that Not Like Us, payola was used, because payola is used on every single record. It was also used on Family Matters. It was used on any record that went on Spotify, that went on the charts, anything you want to write. So he's telling half the story, right? And honestly, never mind. Take care of everything that he's ever done. Payola, right? And added to when you're talking about over the weekend, we had Funkmaster Flex, who, is generally a fine individual, going out in public and saying Drake has a payola exception. He does not pay payola, which I'm like, I have no idea why he is making this point, which is surely not true.
He barely even made that point. It was just a illiterate freaking tweet about just saying this is how much it costs. It says this is how much it costs, and Drake is right. It's like, what are you talking about? It doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't that make I'm sure we all have had situations. I call it the little cousin theory, where like you lose something during Christmas, and then when it's time to leave, he all of a sudden is the one that magically finds it and has a magic theory about how it got lost in the begin with.
Yeah.
This is what I'm thinking of with Drake. I'm like, all these people that are popping up, you're not making the cause look any better. You're making it seem like this was a very, I shouldn't even say strategic. This was a pre-planned situation. And for you popping out, just giving all this information, it makes people not say, I didn't know that. Thank you. It makes them say, why are you popping out right now?
Yeah.
Like,
why are you?
You
are that guy.
I mean, it does damage the entire Drake thing, right? Because they've always been about he's successful, but it's like Trump in that winning is the brand, right? Like winning and being successful and being at the top, having the biggest numbers is the thing that we do. but your numbers are artificially manufactured. There are people who like these records, but of course you're getting a bump. Why are you getting added to 1,000 stations the first week you want to?
Yeah.
Because they paid for that.
For them, it's called promotion or marketing too. It's like we're saying payola and stuff like that. That's just their promotion and marketing, and it's been like that for the beginning. So it's like if we want to talk about payola, that's attacking the gangsters. You feel what I'm trying to say? You're going to the core of it. You're not gonna win that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like let's not even. It's almost not even. It doesn't make sense to call it payola almost because that's just what it is. It's just promotion and marketing, and people are going to defend. I think I saw Ebro say something about that.
Wait. Promotion and marketing though is when you purchase something that is. I'm trying to figure out how to say this because payola is not illegal. But if I give you money to do, that's not the same. Like I'm like marketing is like I put up a poster, I paid for an ad. If I tell you, radio man, play my song, that's not market. That's payola. I'm not supposed to be able to buy that.
I hear you. I'm trying to say is that it's so baked in within the system and it's so regular that it's to them it's just promotion and marketing, and they're going to be able to prove that it's so. Here's one thing I want to address. I saw Rory said this, and I saw a lot of people say that they're like, "Oh, Not Like Us took a 30% cut from Spotify." Yeah, so they can. Yeah. That's discovery mode. You know that because you know the music business. I now have a song that I get 30% less off of because they will promote it, and it gets a 57% boost off of that. So I only really make like 15% off of it or something like that, if I did my math right. But the point being is that
so are you saying that? I mean, like I could see why a new artist or a younger artist, a rising artist, would do that. Is there some point to be made of like why is Kendrick with his gigantic single Not Like Us
because you get more push off? If I give you something that you get 30% off and you get to keep some of the money if you promote it, you make more money off of it. It doesn't matter if you're big, small, anything. It's just so the song could be discovered. So if UMG Kendrick's team is like, yo, let's do this deal with you guys at 30% off, it's going to get out there more. And this is a battle song. I want it to get out there more.
Which relates to what something you were saying before about how Kendrick said, influencers, TikTok, you can use my song with it for free.
Exactly.
Which encourages influencers to use it. So if he's willing to take less on the song, more people will hear it. At least more people will hear it.
Exactly.
But
more
these
people
are not
hear
nefarious things, and these are things that Drake has surely done in some way, shape, or form.
I don't know about discovery mode because that's like only 2-3 years old. It just happens to be something that they probably. My point is that they can prove that that's just business as usual. Where he tried to act like it was something like nefarious, like you said, and people try to post things like that. This is nefarious. No, this is business as usual.
Yeah, Curtis, is there a chance that Lucian Grange said, let's push Not Like Us more in a way that, well, this will hurt Drake? Like, great.
Well, the first thing is they're both artists, Drake and Kendrick, are under the imprint to some degree, right? Through their own imprints. They're under UMG. Like I always say, who won the battle between 50 Cent and Kanye? Most folks say Kanye. No, UMG won that one. Who won this battle between Kendrick and Drake? Yeah, people that say Kendrick, but no, UMG won this because no matter the success on both sides, they look to benefit. To your point earlier, you mentioned Trump. I would respect this move even more if Drake took a Trump stance. Remember when he was debating Hillary, and then he said, yeah, there are tax cuts that billionaires are taking advantage of. I know because I'm one of them. I respect it more if you like let's not act like the system is not the system for a reason. Now, to your point about where the direction of the industry is going, I don't think Drake is recognizing like where like all these different roads are leading to. When I look at UMG and I look at how aggressive they were with TikTok, right? I mean, even when you think about their arrangement, UMG, Sony Music, Warner Brothers Music, their arrangement with Spotify has forced Spotify, who foundationally as a music platform. Now they're more so a podcast platform. Now they're a monetization feature for those who podcast and choose to do vertical videos on their platform. The industry is heading a different direction in which the UMGs will now, I think, become the new distributors. They'll become the new TuneCores, the new distro kids. And so if that's the direction they're going in, it does not serve a UMG to have anybody ever have the opportunity to have the power or the input that a Drake once had. To me, it feels like he is very much a mascot for the change of guard. It's bigger than Drake. Like, this is the direction it's heading in. So then to take them to court for the very thing that you've been benefiting off of,
right?
And then also, too, could this be the reason why, one of the things, you hear all kind of pleas for those who are defending him right now.
Yeah.
Could this all lend to the theory of 20v1? Because nobody ever asks, well, then why is it 20v1? Could it be that everybody's a hater? Or could it be that every one of them possibly share some kind of viewpoint or some kind of story which they say, you know what? This guy has been abusing the system. You can't say nothing to him because all he got to do is tell his zaddy at UMG that this person has been doing this and I get blackballed or whatever the case may be.
One of the things that I have always found interesting about Drake is how many other people he has given number ones to, jumped on their record and gave them their first number one. And that's one of his big, let's say, medals, right? As a soldier, as a general, whatever it is. Should we look at that anew through the lens of, surely it wasn't just the radio saying like, let's play this new Drake song, but UMG or whoever was saying like, yeah, play that song, pump it up. We want to make Drake bigger through features as well.
Absolutely. And I also am one of the few people that's going to also point this out, especially when we get into the conversation of colonizing and all these different things. For people to think that it's a one-sided exchange for a Drake to get into the culture of an artist that has the pulse of the people, that has arm's reach to the people, that has a culture that they've invested in, people have said, you know what, this person is authentic and valid. To make somebody believe that that's a one-sided transaction for him to give them a number one hit, while at the same time being able to collect what I call culture coins, and then be able to now not only share in a sound with them, right? But he also gets that cosign
cachet.
To a
it's the cultural cachet that he gets. Yeah.
And so to my point, he gets the culture of cachet, and then he's able to then, which I think is really interesting, take that style to the next album without that artist. So to me, it's like this is what colonizing was all about, was going and taking the good, taking the arts, taking whatever was valuable, and then bringing it back home. And I feel like to a certain degree, that's why he gets that criticism. And now what's happening is that the place he's been bringing it back home to, UMG, is here's another thing I think is interesting. One last thing is that most of his streams and all of this power that we're talking about from his own catalog, they said most of it comes from projects that he released 6 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what people are streaming. Yeah.
So if it's from 6 years ago, the question is, what have you done for me lately if I'm UMG? And I wonder if those conversations have shifted dramatically over the last year.
Let me ask this question. Some people say, I've heard this even on Joe Budden's podcast, that what if Drake is tanking like a basketball team? Do you feel like Drake is tanking? Like they're trying to take the angle like, oh yeah, his music quality has kind of been mid, and he's been doing it on purpose, and he's got stuff on the tuck, and he's been doing all these duo albums while you're doing duo albums, which I agree with this part. So you do less work. If I'm gonna do a duo album, if I'm gonna do something with somebody, I do less work, and I could get them out quickly. And why you need to get them out quickly is because you need to recoup. You're trying to finish some sort of deal. That's why you're dropping these things quickly. I think, what did he drop? Like 6 albums or some shit in the last 6?
Ridiculous.
It's like ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, if I'm UMG and I gave you a $400 million check, I'm not gonna ever be on the side of the big machine like that, but I understand conducting business as an independent entrepreneur myself. I'm like, if I put that kind of money out there, I have an expectation about how you're going to get that back, right? And I feel like I've always joked. I said, man, he need to shave his head and go to whatever island he can and drink some ayahuasca shakes because this has just been a terrible year. But I feel like he has done everything but that. He's been more visible. He goes to these basketball games and he's mad dogging professional athletes at their job. You know, you're popping out to events trying to show how unbothered you are. And I look at this and I'm saying, someone put this in my comments. They said, what if he's not allowed to not be visible? This is something in where they're saying, look, you're on the line for this. And now that we're renegotiating, you know, because to me, it's the same thing as sports in that if you have an NBA player that is in a contract year, you better believe it ain't gonna be no low management. You better believe they're gonna be giving you the best basketball that they can give you because they know the conversation is gonna be, what have you done for me lately? And if the leverage is, well, 6 years ago was your best work. What have you done since then? And your brand took a blow that most people recover from.
Where do you go from here when Drake has Karen Silkwooded the company and told everyone, oh my God, you guys are doing payola? And I would assume at some point he will return with another album and say, can you please promote this too? And expecting them to drop, you know, $250,000 on each single.
He got
so that
one
he can
coming.
blow up again. I mean, does Lucian Grange look at him like, you're out of your fucking mind? We're not going to help you. You called us out on payola. There are many ways that Drake could have like winked and like Lucian Grange hear it, but we don't understand what he's talking about. But going to get, you know, Celino and Barnes on the case, like you changed the whole conversation.
Well, I think he hasn't had that push. I don't think he's had that push since Certified Lover Boy had a little bit of a single push to it. But all these other records, I don't think the machine looks different. If you're really paying attention to how things go, the machine looks different. Like Drake's wasn't on every single Spotify list, all that stuff like that. His streams go up anyways, right? Yeah, he has a boost or whatever like that, but he's still a viable by himself. If he drops something right now, it's gonna have millions of plays, right? We know that. Yeah. So I think that they don't care because he is gonna still bring in some streams, and if he's just keep on doing content that's bringing streams and they don't have to pay any money, that's a win-win for them. It's like, I don't have to pay. You're going to get some streams. Instead of doing one big album where we put a bunch of money into it, you drop 5 and we get the same number. It just took 5 of them to get to the 1. So I think it's at a standstill because he has to drop and they don't have to promote.
And don't forget, we're talking about the same infrastructure that was forcing rappers to do TikToks. And when I think about it, if that's what you do to veteran rappers that are maybe they're definitely not a higher priority than Drake. You're saying, I'm going to force you to figure out TikTok. You and your team need to figure out some kind of presence on TikTok. I can only imagine what that is for a Drake. Obviously, I'm not going to have him do that because it makes their biggest investment not look as appealing or as elusive or as, you know, elite. But now I'm looking at this and I'm like, do you want to do this while you still need favors? Do you want to do this while your brand can still be tarnished underneath their imprint? Because now, at some point, you look like a tax write-off. At some point, it's like he did it to himself. He's spiraling. And then when I look at all of this, and then I'm like, when I look at what was it? One last thing. When I look at all of this, and then I see Triple X Tentacion trial all of a sudden starts bringing his name back in out of nowhere. I'm like, you got to understand the kind of stakes you playing. Michael Jackson couldn't win this game.
We've spent this whole time talking about the first legal action that Drake has taken. Not yet a lawsuit, will be a lawsuit probably at some point. Although I do wonder if this is a bit of a head fake to create a conversation, but he won't actually file a lawsuit, which could actually be dangerous and damaging for him. But you think about where he goes from here and how you move forward from this moment. It seems like he's put himself into a really difficult situation.
Yeah.
And to the point where even if you do, because one artist that was able to kind of play games with the label and then find platinum success afterwards was Prince. He was able to do that direct to consumer through his own website, and he was able to find that success outside of the infrastructure. We're living in a much different time. Like, look how aggressive his lawyers had to be about music that couldn't be on YouTube. And he was taking stuff down. Like, he was making sure everybody who had his music up didn't have a chance. I look at a Drake and I'm like, what do you feel like your independence is going to look like if you choose to go that route? Like, say he wants to do like a Gamma situation with Larry Jackson. What do you think this looks like?
I think it could look good.
Wait, hold on. Wait, I'm saying that I did lose my train of thought for a second. We spent the whole time talking about payola. We haven't even talked about the second legal action, which is about defamation of character, where I think all of us are like, are you really sure you want to open up that can of worms, Drake? Because there's
just a bitch made move.
Smoke.
Yeah. I got a theory on that one, though.
All right.
What's your theory?
Not Like Us is protected from defamation. And I think people took and ran their own narrative.
Explain that how? Wait, explain that how? How is it?
I'm explaining it now. So I think a lot of people ran with the narrative that, Kendrick called Drake a PDF. My question is, where? Baca got a weird case. Why is he around? Certified lover boy certified PDFs. Plural is what that word was, right? I didn't say the word, but it's edifies.
Yeah.
And it's plural. What I'm looking at is, it as a lyricist yourself, he's talking plural after setting up the line, talking about who's around Drake. Right now, we know he said things like, "Say Drake, I hear you like him young." But when you're talking about defamation, I've talked to lawyers about defamation suits from some other stuff outside with my business, and they said that's the hardest thing to prove in a court of law. So to me, when I look at that, it feels more performative, because if you're going to talk about defamation, there's a better case for Kendrick to go after a Drake for defamation when you actually said the names Dave Free, when you said the names Whitney, when you said the names Kendrick and said all of these things that can be defamatory. Like, you now I look at Not Like Us, you show me where he said, Drake, you are a PDF. That's the narrative people ran with. He called him freaky, 6ix9ine God. But go back to that song and really look at it, and it's done plurally to insinuate there are people with weird cases around. And if you start to dig into, you said it, are you sure you want to play that game where people start to actually dig into the details of people who may have some things that you don't even know about as Drake? Do you want to go down that lane? That's a crazy one to go to.
Let me say this about the case and why I don't even care to talk about it, because it's dumb. And just like what he said, I don't see it going anywhere, because you could make a case that this is not defaming. You can make a case that Drake started this, which made this happen. Therefore, you can't get mad and say this person defamed me when you aggravated it. That's actually something that can happen within. It's not going to go through. I think it's just there to support the other petition.
But Green, I mean, yes, but the defamation action is necessary if you're going to do the dumb thing of the payola, anti-payola action. Because as soon as the payola action came out, we all said, where's the defamation of character? Why aren't you suing for that? You're calling attention to the fact you're not suing about defamation of character. So I have to throw that in there just to tick the box of, see, I said that I'm not a PDF, but then as you're insinuating, that will probably fade away because it's very difficult to prove. And like, I just needed to say that was not me. But the other thing is the real thing that he's going after. But they're both dumb. Curtis, I feel like both of these, especially the payola action, makes me feel like you don't have friends or solid management to tell you this is the wrong way to go.
It feels so reactive. You know what's funny? You reminded me of how he reacted when Meet the Grams dropped. of all the crazy things that Kendrick said in that song, the only thing that you saw Drake address on social media, show me your daughter. That's the least of your concerns. The man talking about, you know what I mean? Like he's addressing messages to your son, to your father, to your mother of great detail, gambling addiction, and you're like, forget all that. I don't got a daughter.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know that the priority is in the wrong place. And I feel like if you, to your point, to where if you got people in your corner, they're gonna tell you, bro, chill. Don't do that.
Or don't do the hard part 6. Like, don't say, yo, I'm way too famous to be a PDF. Like, yeah, that was his point. Like, the hard part 6 right there shows you, like, what are you talking about? I would respect Drake. Let me say this. I'd respect Drake if right after Meet the Grams and Not Like Us came out, he didn't put out a track. He said, this is whack. This is real lame. He's calling me things out my name, and this is hurtful to children and people. I think that he's gone too far, and I think bringing kids and saying ridiculous things like this is too far. Instead of making a song about it, if he just bowed out at that point, I would respect that, because you could actually flip that on Kendrick if you're smart enough, but he isn't smart enough. And if you could take your ego out of it, you'd be able to flip that on Kendrick and be like, yo, this is ridiculous. Like, look at what he's talking about. This makes no sense.
You know why you can't? Because he fed the information to the other side for weeks.
Yeah, that's yeah. He fed that information. He was fed it. Yo, that's another thing about the defamation. You fed this information, so how's it defamation? You gave us all this information.
To be fair, the thing that he said he fed the information was the OVO mole and him. What was the other thing he was talking about? There was something really specific on the kid. Yeah. So you're selective about the things that you're sending lies about to the other side. What do we like? What game are we playing? Because now when I'm looking at that, I'm saying let's zoom out and let's examine the character. That's one thing through all of my content. People think I'm, a Drake hater. They won't call me whatever. The kids love to say glazing.
Both of y'all are Drake haters.
To me, this is a conversation about character, and I feel like that's a conversation that it's not above battle rap. It's not, because the thing that I really respect about the approach that Kendrick took is that as much as obviously he tells about how much of an inspiration Tupac is. He took a very different approach than Tupac took with Hit 'Em Up and Against All Odds. And this is a different energy. This is like a controlled aggression, but you barely see anger. Euphoria doesn't feel angry. Meet the Grams doesn't feel angry. Not Like Us feels celebratory.
Hold on. Meet the Grams doesn't feel angry.
I don't think it feels angry.
I get what you're saying. It's not the same. It's not the same vibe as Ether. It's not the same vibe as Hit 'Em Up and No Vaseline. I get what the celebratory nature of Not Like Us. There are angry moments, but Meet the Grams. Meet the Grams.
Can I make a case?
No. It feels hateful. It does not feel angry. There's a difference. Like when he said controlled, it's like he doesn't feel like he's out of control and foaming out the mouth
for sure.
and went crazy. He feels like a calculated psychopathic assassin. It doesn't. It seems. It's like, I'm not angry at you. I hate you, and I don't think you should exist.
Go ahead, Curtis. Go ahead.
That's my point. When you listen to Meet the Grams, you have to like this. I felt like a very sick human being when I played it in the gym, and I said I got to get my life together because it's not Kendrick's
You played
fault.
that in the gym?
It wasn't my choice. No, it just went on shuffle. I had it in my playlist. It came on, and I was like, bobbing my head. I was like, who do I hate?
That's the machine.
I hate body right now. I say this. Meet the Grams feels more so like shame on you. Shame on your mama, shame on your daddy, shame on. And you know what? Hold on. Forgetting about the child in the room. Son, let me come talk to you and give you, like, it doesn't feel angry yet. You know what's crazy? I feel like Whacked Out Murals is probably the angriest, and it's still it's a very controlled way to do it. But when I listen to it, it's like, oh, you can't pick a side. F all of y'all. Like,
you
energy.
You get that. See, that's what
it's different.
I'm glad a lyricist is talking about whacked out murals, because we both know that whacked out murals is literally, I feel like he's on the edge of about to kill somebody. Like that's the closest and the most angry I think he's been on any of this. Everything else is either frustrated or celebratory, or I like to think of Meet the Grams as he tied them all up in the house and talked to them individually. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's how that feels. Like, I broke into your house. You didn't know this, Drake, but I broke into your house.
You can't tell me you see him with what's the kid's name? What's the kid's name? What's his son's name?
Oh, Adonis.
Adonis. You can't tell me you see he tied up Adonis. Let me give you some advice, kid.
This feels like more. You want to play a game?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Oh my
Saw.
God! It's so Saw.
Because of your irresponsible ways and the ways that you treated people in your life, including the women in your life, I have some things that I want to say to you.
So Saw.
Well, it's
Right?
that energy to me that I get from that.
It is a song from Saw.
Curtis, what are we not fully understanding yet about this whole situation?
I think zooming out, a lot of conversations have been made, especially after Watch the Party Die, about, are we experiencing the party die, and what does that mean for the infrastructure, all these different things. When I zoom out, I like to look at things similar to a movie and say, what is it? Where does this character go in the end of the movie? Right? How does this scene play out? And it feels like everybody is moving in the direction they naturally want it to go. When I think of a UMG, I've done so many reaction videos in which they're talking about, their emphasis, and Spotify, of course, talking about their emphasis on pushing AI music, right? Well, if you get rid of the superstars in the room, if you get rid of the egos in the room, this allows a perfect lane to now push that through too. When you think about Spotify, 70 cents of every dollar is going to the 3 major labels, and they just made their first profit this year after pivoting and doing all kind of backflips into podcasting. Matter of fact, they're deciding now to pay content creators before the actual musicians more money with a monetization program. To me, that says Spotify wanted to go this direction.
How's that monetization program work? Real quick, let me curiosity.
So it's still developing. They announced it not too long ago on Music Business Worldwide, but basically they're going to make a push into the vertical video format, just like Instagram did with Reels, just like YouTube did with Shorts, and they're going to now award Spotify-based podcasters and content creators for creating content on this platform. So they're going to have some kind of monetization program, I'm assuming very similar to what YouTube looks like, but for that platform. Why? Because they're no longer in the business of music. That just so happened to be the route that they took to get here. What I think is ultimately going to happen when all is said and done, call me a crazy conspiracy theorist, I think that UMG will be the front runner to eventually take over the responsibilities of music in Spotify. But to my point, I think everybody, just like the end of like a classic family black movie where they look and you have Tyrone went to college this year, and another one is he went on to start a family over in Oregon or whatever the case may be. I feel like everybody is moving into their natural place. I feel like UMG is going to end up getting what they've always wanted from a Spotify, which is why Spotify's been so strapped it couldn't make a profit. I think UMG turns into streaming. I think that Kendrick now launches on this next era, which feels like a very legacy-based era, where I've given you these hip-hop classics, undeniable, it's done numbers, but I feel like now he wants to compete in a different way, and he had to go through this process to show people, like, this is the depths of the work that I've done. I listen to Man in the Garden, I think about him talking about, like, I deserve it all. To me, it's now showing fruits of your labor. It's like, imagine Kobe doing all the work he did and never winning a ring. Not saying Kendrick didn't, but it feels like he wants to accomplish something different, which to me shows the aggressive nature of him pushing for the Grammys and the way he's going after that. I think after this year, after that tour with SZA, I think that things shift for him. But then I think
stadium tour.
But I think for the entire industry, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to have to revisit why they actually jumped into music, why they chose to do business in the music business. because a lot of things are sort of the playing field is starting to be even in the media space. You see a little bit of that stuff happening as well. So I think that there is a natural kind of rebuilding that is happening. That's why it's so dope. Like Toure, when I'm seeing your content out here, like I'm so glad that you're in this space. When I see my guy Justin Hunt, like y'all, the Rob Markman, you guys are the ones that I came up watching and understanding. Anything that I know about media, I came from watching folks with integrity get in front of these cameras and have these conversations. This was our schooling, right? So now to see y'all in space and doing so well is inspiring, because it shows like high level, high IQ conversations about hip hop. There is an audience. There's a silent majority that is out here, and I think things are repairing themselves, but it's got to get ugly before it gets good again.
That sounds like it sounds like America. Curtis, tell them where they can find you.
First and foremost, YouTube, Curtis King with 2 S's. Curtis King TV is where you'll find that. Instagram at Curtis King. I have a patreon.com/Curtis King TV. But if you Google Curtis King with 2 S's, you'll find me.
Dope.
Well, Curtis King, thank you so much for the time, for the wisdom, for the knowledge. It's Rap Latte. I'm Toure.
And I'm King Green.